In the last decade, record sales have been in half. In 2004, there were 763,000 record sales, and in 2011, only 300. Okay, all right. Doing this one again.
I think that was written like a Chinese postcard in a hurry.
Okay.
I've been cut in half? Is that what it was supposed to say? Record sales have been cut in half?
Yeah. I got it. I just had to look at that again. Then the number threw me off because that's an O instead of a 0.
Oh, yeah.
An O among zeros.
A skill in the
Kind
M&M.
of jackhole type that out.
All right. Could split a lot of hairs, hip hop and rap, especially because rap is a vocal style.
Everyone knows what rock and roll is. It's a very large umbrella. It covers a whole bunch of stuff.
Could you say that the Gaga gimmick was an afterthought? You know, like she had the songs, but they said, nah, you need more.
She's definitely one that has the talent.
Yeah.
Can write, can do singing, songwriting.
We started coming out to the West Coast in the early 80s. We saw Kennedy's Black Flag, Flipper, all this, really nihilistic punk rock thing. Man, there's a lot of rules in this thing. You gotta wear this chain that way, and you gotta hate this particular kind of politics. It was just like all these rules, and we're like, what are these rules about? We want to make music. Music.
I was ready to be born ready.
Oh, yes. Sounds a bit like rock and roll, doesn't it?
10 seconds, guys.
From Mind Rocket Studio, between Ohio and Pennsylvania, covering the culture of popular music of yesterday and today. Speaking of music, you're listening to it. With your hosts, from the Raw Alternative, Rick Polo, from SYLM, Joe Sinkovich, and Lucas Golub. Here's your anchor, Jimmy Martin.
The song was Control by the band Idle Shades, who performed live for us at Mind Rocket Studio as part of our Mind Rocket Project sessions. Welcome to Speaking of Music. With us today is Rick Polo from the Raw Alternative, Joe Sinkovich from Supporting Your Local Music, myself, Jimmy Martin, and Lucas Golub from the band Resonant. Are we saying your name right, Lucas?
Yeah, Lucas Golub.
Golub, okay.
Yeah, Golub, yeah.
Or Goat Love. If
Or
you're
Goat
looking
Love.
for him
If
on
you're looking
Facebook.
for me on the Facebook,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll find me under that.
Oh, you must be from the Goat Loves from Eastern Pennsylvania, the famous.
The famous ones, yeah. No, it was like, some kids maybe growing up have if the name that they would like to have if they were famous. That's my Satanist name. Yeah. Lucas Goatlove would be like the Satanist name I would give myself if I were to become a Satanist.
So on today's episode, we're going to listen to some clips from other podcasts, some quotes and some comments by Matt Berninger, vocalist from The National, as well as a little short story from Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, which is courtesy, or as I like to say, oblivious courtesy from the WTF podcast with Mark Maron. Also, we're going to get into some summer festivals, and we're going to have our very own Rick Polo pick a question from our questionable questions envelope. And hopefully he'll pick a new one, as we have been getting some repeats. But getting into the first segment, we're going to start off by listening to a clip of Matt Berninger, vocalist from the band The National, who have been referred to as sort of the indie music darlings of indie bands. And he just talks a little bit about the presence of an ego of a stage performer in a band, and also talks a little bit about having one of their songs licensed for a commercial, which I think you'll find interesting, the amount of money that they received for the use of that song and where that amount stands with regard to his value system, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. So let's just check out this clip. It's from You Made It Weird podcast, free at iTunes, and it's Matt Berninger talking with Pete Holmes.
Midwestern vibe. But here's what's funny is behind that and behind your cool band, I remember reading in the New York Times Magazine, they talked about how Bryce is the ambitious one. And I was like, of course, you don't get to where you guys are. And Mike Birbiglia doesn't get where he is by just being like, I don't want any trouble. Yeah, you do. There's a certain part of that performer that's like, I believe in what I'm doing, and I'd like to get it out there.
Yeah, and you have to have a certain amount of ambition and ego. And I say ego, or I don't know, it sounds like a bad thing, or pride in that
Guileless?
thing you do. Well, I don't think we were clearly wrong with the meaning of guileless.
Oh, say guile then.
Yeah.
You need some guile.
But having a certain amount of I mean, pride is something you're not supposed to have. But like, if you do something you work hard on that you think should be out there because you think it's better than the other shit, you should be ambitious with it. You should push it hard, and you should push it hard to sell it. And if it means you have to do a. I mean, like the weird thing is the song that we're doing a radio edit for, not radio edit.
It's not on High Violet, is it?
No, it's on Trouble Will Find Me. It's called I Need My Girl.
That has a radio edit.
That has a radio.
Why did I think this was a while ago? This is
just now. We're just like, and we're like, and so we had a guy, and I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name, but he's like a guy who mixes songs for radio, and it sounds very different than the one on the record. And I had to take the word shit out of it and stuff, it's like, but
is
it's
it
like,
bleeped or do you say something
no,
else?
I say self. I say it's the line is remember when you lost your shit, and now it's remember when you lost yourself or something.
Oh, I want to hear it.
And but it's
wait, that's on Need My Girl. Oh, you just said that.
That's on Trouble Will Find Me. It's called I Need My Girl.
Yeah.
That's the song.
I love that song.
But anyway, but we're like, yeah, let's try to get a song on radio. Okay, I got to change one word. But we've been a band for 14 years, and there's no shame in going for it. I don't think. It's
like the Red Hot Chili Peppers on The Simpsons, where they're like, instead of say what I got, you got to get it, put it in you. Can you say what I got, you got to, and it's something like hug and kiss you. Oh, really? and Anthony Kiedis is like, sure, man, whatever. Like, we'll totally change it. It's not the same thing at all. Shit to self doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
Well, the concept of selling out is a thing that was, you're hypersensitive to, you don't want to sell out, you want to be legit, and I get it, but in Fugazi where they were, but you still you do want to sell, and you want to, we did a car. I mean, we happily admit that we sold a song to a car commercial, about 10 years ago. It was on a song off of Alligator, I think. They just used an instrumental, but we got paid $20,000 or something. I can't remember, not much. Yeah. But it allowed us to make the Boxer. It allowed us to make the next record.
Yeah.
I mean, that and our label gave us something. But it's like,
of course, that's like the inside of Play. Remember Moby?
So a few things before I have you guys chime in. Do you remember on the Oliver Stone's rendition of the Doors movie when the Doors were on Ed Sullivan maybe or some late night show? And they flagged a Doors lyric, and they said, instead of saying, girl, we couldn't get much higher, say, girl, we couldn't get much better.
Yeah.
But isn't it in that same vein, though?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think the Ed Sullivan example is, to keep it more family friendly, but that particular example, okay, what Ed Sullivan wanted him to replace it to kind of changes the entire vibe of the entire song. Where in the example of the National, it's sort of interchangeable.
Yeah, it is definitely like a cleaner, family-friendly version of the same concept. It's not like by changing this one lyric to make it a little less racy, like you completely lose the point of the song. Mm-hmm. It's just like, all right, yeah, that's something a middle school kid could listen to.
An example with actually my band Baroque Monody, we have a song where there's a particular line where it says, "I feel you walk in the room." For the first two choruses, the third chorus is "I feel you fuck up this room," And it's not for shock value. I think it's just the aggression and the tension that builds throughout the entire song, and that particular word carries more weight. But I think and I've been over with my vocalist Jennifer, over and over. I said, if you don't feel comfortable at a particular event and you still want to say walk in this room, I don't think it's going to matter or change the vibe of the song too much. When it really comes down and depends on the song and the message the song is trying to convey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're taking away completely from the message of the song,
like Lucas said, the vibe of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that, if you guys wrote that song and the lyric was, it was always a 4-letter word, not a radio friendly word, and you had the opportunity, like, hey, we like this, we want to use this as, on this TV show we're doing, we think it would fit perfectly. But, can you change this word? Would you do it? And would that hinge on, I can do this and still keep the point of my song and get paid, or I can do this, it completely loses the point of my song, but like I don't have to work 2 jobs this year. You know what I mean? Like how do you weigh in on that, man?
A little bit of compromise. If you're not compromising artistic integrity, if you're compromising for the idea that, well, it can gain us, it can, there's an advantage to it. We can, the word's escaping me right now, but, we can get some sort of advantage from that. Then as long as it doesn't, artistic integrity isn't in question. If the impact's still there, if they wanted us to change it completely where there's a different message, where the message itself is watered down, then I do feel like that's selling out. That's catering. There's a difference between compromise and catering. I feel.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but like $20,000 is like pretty much a brand new car in cash. It's a heck of a down payment on a house. You know what I mean? Like, Joe, you write lyrics. What do you think?
I would rather have a beep in the song than actually change the words, because it's it's what I wrote, and it's the words that I put down. They mean something, Like, I guess it's hard for me to actually say because, like, I could think about the chance that somebody might come to me and say, hey, we're going to give you $20,000 for that if you change. But, like, in the real world, that would never, ever happen to me.
Exactly.
So it's kind of hard for me to say. But, like, I'm on the same page with Jenny. Like, the words I write, the stuff I write, I don't intentionally put bad words into them. But sometimes that word works and it impacts. It's in there. Like, I really don't believe that there is very many bad words in any of the Resonance songs, actually.
There's a couple. There's a couple, and they are big ones.
One or two, and they're fuck for sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
but they're not there for, like you said, shock value.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't think that I would want to change.
No,
change it at all.
There are sometimes when you need to say the word motherfucker in a song.
Yeah,
yep. I'm sorry,
and
that's that.
I never feel weird saying that because, as far as I'm concerned, like, if you're there seeing my band, you know what's coming. And if I say crazy motherfucker on stage and you're offended or shocked by that, then you're in the wrong show already.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
What's coming next is going to blow your damn mind.
And it comes down to, like, personally, I almost don't believe in censorship. I believe in a rating system, like, hey, don't let your kids watch this.
Yeah, yep.
Warn people, courtesy.
But really, when it comes to words, when it, images, things like that, I understand. But when it comes to words, shit, piss, fuck, damn, you cannot tell me that kids don't hear that everywhere. From their own parents, from just being in public. Especially nowadays, people have that entitlement of, they talk loud. They don't care who's standing next to them. I mean, I've been at the grocery store with my daughter and somebody standing next to me on the phone, oh, that motherfucker told me this fucking bad, and it's like, hey, whoa, man, can you just, but they know it. Kids nowadays are definitely, they're exposed to that stuff at a much earlier age than they were when we were all younger. Except for you, Rick, because you're only 12.
That's true. 11, actually. 11 and a half.
Work
11
almost
and a
there.
half. You're getting there, man.
I'm getting there. Prepubescent.
Yeah.
What about you, Jimmy? Would you change the words to your song? Not so much the meaning, but the words to your song for compensation?
Compensation, or just for like a step up the exposure ladder, fame ladder?
Well, I mean, you're going to get, you would get the exposure and you would get the money, but I mean, you also, what you wrote, what came out of you would have to be changed to make it.
I guess there would be a category of changes that wouldn't change the theme and the meaning behind the song, but there'd probably be another category of things that would be, very vital.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that question raises another question about bands that go out on the road, and I admire them. There's two regrets I have so far in my life. One is that I never lived on a college campus and experienced the college life, and two is I never packed my shit in a van and went on tour with a band. I would just really love to do that, but I also see this other side of that. I know a lot of people in indie bands, and they do save the Taco Bell mild sauce packets for a midnight snack or for lunch because they live off of pennies.
Cold cans of Chef Boyardee.
And they're leaving their family behind. They're leaving opportunities behind, and everything is out there on this fragile branch. And if you get to Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and it's your chance to show the world your music, and they say, you guys, we love you, but you can't say fuck here. I try to answer those questions cautiously because I might say, I can hold on to my integrity and say, no, you're going to bastardize a song. But then there goes my financial security. There goes the financing for the next record. Maybe it's the decision that will actually result in turning the van around and going back to Northeast Ohio.
But even changing the word, even if you, you're saying it don't change the meaning. Technically, it does. It's still changing the meaning. You change that one word, it went from, what he said, from shit to self.
Yeah.
It's still changing the impact that
Yes.
lyric is having on
Yeah.
you. Like he just with what Rick said with Baroque, she has the first two times it says that, but when it gets to that third one, that the aggression is building, and that's there for that, to add to that. So if you take that away, you are taking away the meaning of the song. Like just changing that one word, you are still taking not so much maybe the meaning, but the passion of how that was wrote out of the song still. So that's why I would much rather have it beeped, because people know what you're saying. And that's fine. And, if it's beeped out, of course you're not going to hear a song that's beeped on a fucking car commercial.
Yeah.
But, like I said, it's hard, I guess, for me to say that because there's not someone standing here with a $20,000 check, it might all change if I'm sitting there going, wow, I could, shit, I need new tires on my truck.
Exactly.
And sometimes language is that other instrument too, and it makes or breaks a song. Like, for example, Five Finger Death Punch, it's not going to have the same hard-hitting effect if they say, it's time to face the truth, Mother Hubbard, war is the answer. You got to say, motherfucker, because it's angry.
Exactly. And that's my point. Even if you change it from shit to self, it's the same meaning, but when you say, losing myself, it loses some impact of losing my shit. I just lost my shit.
People know that concept, that feeling.
Yeah, holy cow, I know what he means. Not, I just lost myself in the moment. That's mild. That's easy. It's mild, but I just lost my shit, guys.
Yeah.
So you just changing a word in songs, if they're wrote well and they're wrote with that impact, you're going to change the whole impact of the song, and you got to be willing to do that if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, absolutely.
All my lyrics are very dear to me, and a lot of times I don't even know what my songs are about until after they're done, and I sing them a few times. I'm like, oh, wow, this is what this is about.
Well, we spoke about that a little bit on a past episode with Shiloh Hawkins, where we said that you don't want to take away somebody's interpretation of your song because you might ruin it for them.
Yes. Everyone should, if it's wrote the right way, everyone should interpret it their own way and hear it their own way. And I believe in that episode, Rick said some of his favorite bands, he's learned what the songs actually mean and the meaning behind them and how those people wrote it. And it
can be disappointing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be very insightful, but mostly disappointing.
Yeah. Yep. Because you have in your mind what that song means to you.
Okay.
It makes a difference.
Absolutely. So the other clip that I wanted to listen to, and this is more of just a random plug for the WTF podcast, because it's pretty much the inspiration behind this podcast and other projects of mine. But Mark Maron does a great job of talking with musicians. I mean, he really has the chops for it, the knowledge base, and he relates well to musicians. So in this particular episode, he's talking with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and I just kind of wanted to give you a little minute and a half sample of it. So let's check it out.
Guys who wound up taking all the unwanted blues records, kind of salvaged it. This was a rapidly evaporating art form. Thanks to the onslaught of what came out of the UK, it was returning. Right. And then, of course, Eric Clapton came along and tore it up, followed with Peter Green.
Peter Green's the guy, right?
Mick Taylor. So many guys. Mick Abrams.
But you were listening to them and the old stuff?
Yeah.
The source material? Because a lot of those guys, I mean, like the Stones blues was a little hopped up and kind of pure, but then Peter Green, I don't know where that guy came from. I don't know where his sound comes from. I mean, like, it is some of the saddest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Peter Green, to this day, Mick Fleetwood considers him leader of the charge.
Right.
And so be it. The guy is, I listen to it daily.
So what was the first band of yours?
The Saints.
Yeah.
Which we were 13. This was about 6 months of, woodshedding in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And, although Christmas Day, right before midnight, I was stuck on that thing, and I learned the Jimmy Reed chords.
Yep.
That little, turnaround boogie.
Yep.
And the opening 4 notes to Ray Charles' What'd I Say?
That's all you need, right?
And that's it. That started it.
Hi, this is Jimmy from Jones for Revival. Speaking of music, you are listening to it right now.
All right, so that was sort of like a grab bag random moment from the interview. And, without really sitting down and cherry picking a great stellar moment, it doesn't really paint the picture of the whole entire interview, but I highly recommend that interview, as well as his interview with Henry Rollins. Chrissy Hines is a good one, Jack White, and many, many more. But the guy can talk music, and it's really insightful. I don't know, does anybody here know who Jimmy Reed is?
No, and at first I was thinking Jerry Reed, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Billy Gibbons cannot be talking about how he was inspired by Jerry Reed. And it clicked. I'm like, no, wait, he's saying Jimmy Reed. I have no idea. Do you know who Jimmy Reed is?
I know the name, and I know that, he's like an influential musician of some variety, but I haven't been really exposed to it.
Yeah, I have no idea. Wouldn't it be cool if we had something that we can type Jimmy Reed into and push a button and almost find out everything about him? Be sweet, in the future one day. Yeah. Mark my words.
Like an impersonal computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me try to goggle it.
But WTF is a great podcast. I've listened to a lot of that,
and I caught the Henry Rollins interview. He's any interview with him, whether he's conducting it or being interviewed, is phenomenal.
There's on Bob and Tom. It's on every morning in this area in Youngstown. They have a offshoot. It's called Off the Air podcast with Chick McGee, the guy that's on there, and Mark Maron is on one of his podcasts, and the first 5-10 minutes is them talking, but it ends up basically being Mark Maron interviewing Chick McGee, and by the end of it, they're all crying, and he's got them just broke down because that Mark Maron is very good at that.
Yeah.
And it's a really good interview. That guy definitely, he knows what he's doing, and he brings it every time.
He's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, he can reference and he can paint his own timeline to correspond with whoever he's interview's timeline, and makes a jive to where you really get a sense of what was going on. There's another one on a future episode, if we ever have time. I'd love to play you guys a clip of him talking to Bob Mould, and how Bob Mould references that there were rules with hardcore and punk rock, and he didn't like them. So he wanted to sort of stray from punk because he said there were too many rules. But on a future episode, I'd love to play that for you guys.
Conform to non-conformity.
It almost sounds like maybe in what today's hipster, what the misconception with hipsterism is, hipsters that are on that bad side of the hipster definition have rules you can't do this, you can't listen to that.
I think any genre really that you see similar things happening to. I mean, even with the grunge movement, like we were talking about earlier, God forbid, you throw in any keyboards or a piano part in that, and it's not grunge anymore. That doesn't work with the aesthetic.
Right. It's like there's no punk ballads.
Yeah.
Right. My band has played in front of some punk rock crowds, and it's like they weren't allowed to like us.
There was half claps and almost like looking around the room at their other friends to see what they were thinking, and it was cool.
Well, conversely, like in my past, I've played in an industrial band, and they didn't really know where to fit us in because there weren't a whole lot of people doing that. So they would throw us with a lot of heavy metal bands, and we have keyboards and we're not blasting double bass. So they don't really know what to think of it. I mean, maybe the heaviness and the riffs are there, but then, the foundation, your groove and your bass lines are all coming from a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's every genre, I'm afraid, when it reaches a certain point and it can actually be coined, sometimes can be a bad thing, you know, and the best bands from any genre, you see the Deftones came out of rap metal, and look at what they've done. Every album is, and I think the last album they put out is the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah, see, I definitely would have to 100% disagree with Mr. Polo on that one. Like, Deftones is definitely one of the bands that I believe we may have talked about it. The angst. I think they had
rage.
They had something to get off of their chest in their first couple albums, Adrenalize and Around the Fur, and like that you could hear it in there. And then like their newer stuff, it loses that passion because they're trying to keep doing what they were doing instead of adapting and changing. Like you have to.
See, I disagree. I thought White Pony was kind of breaking out of that.
More melodic.
Yeah, more melodic, embracing influences from post-punk and maybe even shoegaze and that, and bringing it in and kind of, getting a little more, branching out from that angst.
Yep. I definitely, I've heard everything they've put out, listened to it at least. I give it a chance because I was a big fan of the Deftones, and their newer stuff just lost it for me. I don't.
Well, conversely, do you think when a band has such a powerful first impression within a particular style, when they try to leave that, do you think it's hard? I mean, because they were great at what they did.
Yeah,
they were. They led that genre, that movement, and then they kissed it goodbye.
I guess it would depend on the band because like Faith No More, my all-time favorite band ever. The stuff that they were first known for and the stuff that they ended up playing, like from their first album to their last album, changed completely. But I love everything from all those albums because it still stayed, fundamentally, it was still them. And they were still putting out the same quality of stuff, but it was completely different because the stuff off their first album with Epic and From Out of Nowhere, like all that stuff was very almost hair metal at the time because that's what was going on right then. But you listen to the stuff like off of Album of the Year and King for a Day, it became a completely different entity, but it still had that core fundamental. So I guess depending on the band, if they can handle the change, I guess, and in my eyes, it's music, it's all subject.
Well, you brought up the subject of angst, and when angst leaves, it changes. I mean, with every musician, with every artist, you can even argue painters have the same phenomena.
Exactly.
The stage of life that you're in and the things you've endured will shape and drive your art. And it's like, Deftones can't release an album that's titled, Actually, I'm Okay, Can I Have a Hug? Because we know them to be angry and rageful, and that stage of life that they're in is going to have an impact on their brand. And on that subject of Deftones, Chino Marino, is that the vocalist name?
Yes.
He's got a side project called Crosses. It's really good.
He's got a couple of them,
Does he?
actually. The former members of ISIS, he's went in one with them called Palms, like a post-rock, and Crosses, which did a great record. Last year they put out a great record, self-titled record. He also had one called Team Sleep back in the mid-2000s. Kind of like Cure, Joy Division influence, kind of dreamy stuff.
Okay. ISIS. They play in Syria and Iraq every night.
They're causing all sorts of
bass
trouble
player
right
sucks.
now. Yeah, all
ISIS,
sorts
the
of
band
trouble,
that
band.
predates that
they're
hateful garbage.
Their shows are pretty intense.
Yeah, there aren't a whole lot of really good bands who've made a successful transition from being like an angry band to someone who isn't angry at all anymore. Clutch comes to mind. Like, their first couple records were, there was a lot of hollering.
Very much.
And, they were obviously much angrier fellows, and they gradually made the transition to, loosening up and jamming. And for a while, they were like a full-on blues band with a harmonica player and a keyboard player. And, while I don't love absolutely every single record they've put out, I would say that 95% of it is some of my favorite stuff done in the last couple decades.
It's definitely a big jump from Binge and Purge,
right,
to a Dragonfly.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
But they're definitely a band that was able to embrace that,
right?
And it takes a certain band and music to do that.
Not everyone can do that. That's not an easy thing to do.
Exactly. Can you argue too that the rage and maybe that angst is no longer personal but becomes a little more outworldly, whether they're, raging against the political machine or looking, at things just going on in the world, or, embracing different concepts. The rage is still there, but it's not a I hate my life aspect. It's like, okay, well, my world was fucked up. I've come to terms with that. The world is fucked up. Let's see what we can do from here.
And I think that would probably be a better crossover than to go completely, go from a metal angst-driven album to your next album being, just have a grandma on the cover baking cookies and it's all ballads. And so, yeah, I would think that'd be a better crossover. You would be able to, you wouldn't lose as many interests.
That's kind of like, and this might be a personal thing. I'm a big fan of Nine Inch Nails, and you can only, so long wish there was something real, wish there was something true. That angst, they made a career out of it, but, as he was getting older, it's hard to believe, like, how long are you going to keep banking off that head like a hole angst? And when they kind of took a different route in their later albums with some more political ideas, and they had that big hit with The Hand That Feeds that, looked at the Bush administration and picked that apart. I thought, well, that's kind of a natural transition for them. And I think it worked, and that's why they were, successful in their later career. So
I've never been, a big fan of them, but they are definitely a band that, or not even them, him, because Trent does everything. He's definitely someone that has managed to adapt, to what he does and keep it going. Because like that whole genre kind of, I don't know if it went away because that's not something I'm into, but it went out of the more mainstream eye, definitely. But Nine Inch Nails has never went away, ever. Like, and being able to change up what he's doing and going exactly what you said, going from Head Like a Hole, where it's more inner angst driven, to the outer angst driven stuff, and it works and better.
Even in terms of with sound, if you look at those early interviews with Reznor, he was more interested in playing with bands like Jane's Addiction and the Jesus and Mary Chain and Lollapalooza rather than Ministry, Skinny Puppy, because although I love those bands, I feel like their creativity peaked a long time ago. They've made the same album. I mean, if you listen to their early roots when it was very electronic, and in Ministry's case, it was synth pop. And then it slowly got more aggressive. And then you saw, punk and thrash guitars, and it became louder and heavier. It was a very interesting progression, but then it kind of peaked. And it kind of hasn't gone. I mean, I love Ministry, but their last few albums that they've done from the 90s on are the same thing. Political ranting over these speed metal riffs and electronic drums.
And how much of that can you really hear?
And Skinny Puppy, okay, how much more goth can you get,
Like net shirt goth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But, I think it's important both, aesthetically and sonically to evolve. There's only so many AC/DCs that can go around.
And it's the bands that evolve well, that it's the Nine Inch Nails, it's in my case the Faith No More, that they're evolving well, and they're doing, like, I don't know. The Deftones just lost me. They lost me on their way. Like, they've changed for sure, but I don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, it works for some people. It doesn't for others. I know there's.
And it's music. It's all subjective. It's all relative. I mean, there's people out there that love country music. Like, something wrong with them.
To each their own.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Metallica lost me. Like,
Oh yeah, it's hard to be angry when you're rich.
Hard to be angry when you're rich.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what definitely happened to Metallica.
But to sort of challenge that politely, Jim Carrey has a comment, a quote. It says something along the lines of, "I wish everybody had millions and millions of dollars so that they could find out that that's not the answer."
That is a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
yeah. I'll try it.
Yeah,
try it. All right.
Yeah. And so everybody send in your checks to Joe Sinkovich. Once we get to 14 million, we'll stop and I'll do the experiment. I'll see you guys in a few years.
Yeah.
Whenever I come back from living in Cabo. But we'll see how it works.
So we got to get to our questionable questions and close this episode out. But before we do, let's listen to a clip from the Cardboard Cutouts song called Finish Line. So that was a new song by Cardboard Cutouts, and they'll be playing at Susie's Dogs and Drafts, and that's in Youngstown, Ohio, and you can find them on Facebook, SUZIESDAWGS, and then, of course, and Drafts, Susie's Dogs and Drafts.
And go there just to eat hot dogs.
Oh, yes.
They're amazing.
White beard cheese, sriracha cream cheese, Youngstown greens.
Last time I was there, I seen the famous Jimmy Martin there.
I heard he was there.
He was there.
The bluegrass player from the 30s?
Yep. Yeah, it was. It's a hard place to see people, though, because you're so face down those delicious hot dogs. That people could walk. I think the Pope walked by me last time. I didn't. I was eating a hot dog. It's delicious.
Plus, the Pope in street clothes would just be like a regular Youngstown.
Yeah, well, he still had the hat.
Oh, okay,
he got the pontiff, I believe it's called. He had just I think he had a jacket like yours, actually.
Yeah.
But he still had the hat on. So
sometimes he wears like a red velvet, like
it has the fur.
It's from a trucking company he worked at. Probably like it looks like 86, 87.
All right, Rick, what do we got?
All righty. In the last decade, record sales have been in half. In 2004, there were 763,000 record sales, and in 2011, only 300. Okay, all right. Doing this one again.
I think that was written like a Chinese postcard in a hurry.
Okay. All
right. I've been cut in half? Is that what I was supposed to say? Record sales have been cut in half?
Yeah. I got it. I just had to look at that again. Then the number threw me off because that's an O instead of a 0.
Oh, yeah.
An O among zeros.
A skill in the M&M.
Kind of jackhole type that out.
All right. In the last decade, record sales have been cut in half. In 2004, there were 763,000 record sales, and in 2011, only 330,000. Was Lars right?
And actually, Resonant got this question on their interview.
I thought it sounded a little
familiar.
familiar.
Yeah.
So I'll just cut and paste what you guys said.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd like to definitely hear Rick's opinion on this.
Okay. Yeah, I think Lars was right from the get-go. I mean, your opinion of Lars or Metallica in general aside, he saw what was coming.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking earlier, for new artists, this is terrible because Metallica, and he was out front about it. Metallica already made their money. they weren't necessarily complaining about that, but they saw that the music industry as a whole would collapse. And for bands that have come out from the year 2000 on, name me any of them bands that have multi-platinum albums. You can name a few. I'm sure there's the Lady Gagas and the Katy Perrys and that, but name me a new artist that's really, I could think of plenty of new bands that have came out and sounded great. Depending on what you're into, I know like the Strokes were a big thing in the early 2000s. Bands like the Strokes and Interpol, a band that I love, and Queens of the Stone Age got their start late in the 90s. I think if they were to have come out a decade earlier, you would see lots of multi-platinum albums underneath their belt, because there's some really influential stuff. And you can even say the White Stripes. I don't think they've sold nearly as many records as they should have. So record sales are on the decline. I think the music industry has been turned on its head by the tech. It was never built to adapt to the technology. I mean, it's a model that's been in place since the days of singles in the 50s.
Yep.
In the 60s, it kind of switched over to albums, and I think bands might have made more money that way. I'm not sure. But, the album reigns supreme from, really the Beatles up until, turn of the century. And, now because it's in shambles so much, you're seeing bands more frequently focusing on releasing EPs or singles, 2 songs at a time, because one, the technology allows them to put out music at a faster rate, and the technology allows the music to be consumed at a much higher rate too. And it just seems like in today's day and age of downloading and so much disposable, we want it right now. An album for the average listener, I think an entire album, 12 songs on average, is a lot for people to digest. Where, and how many times back in the days of CDs have you went out and you bought an album because you heard the single, it was great. There's, a handful of great songs and a lot of filler, and you're skipping tracks, and you paid all, you saved, when I was a kid, I mowed lawns and I saved up those $15 to go get all the albums that I wanted. And sometimes I was really disappointed when the single's great and there's that one really great song and the rest is just filler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All B-sides.
Yeah, exactly. And so nowadays you could kind of eliminate that because, there's so many avenues. I mean, you could preview it on Spotify for free. And if you like it enough, we'll go download these few tracks and throw them on your iPod or whatever.
On the other hand of that too, though, you hear that hit single, you download only that hit single, there may be some better songs on that album, because I know that has also happened back when you bought you'd hear a single and you're like, this is good. You buy the CD and it would turn out that, holy shit, this single sucks compared to the rest of the CD.
Yeah.
And you would hear the reason that single got put out on the radio or whatever was because it was more radio friendly. It was but like, I don't know if you guys remember the band Saigon Kick.
Yeah.
That was out a billion years ago. They had that song, Love Is On The Way, I believe. Real crappy ballad song that was all over MTV. And it was like, their actual CD was really good. There was a lot of guitar. It was heavy. There was a lot of rocking stuff in that CD. That song was the only crappy ballad on that disc, but that's what they got known for. And, that whole thing got overlooked and they just went away, of course. But that CD was really good. I think it was called The Lizard or something, I believe. Huh. And the CD was good. It was rocking, but it was just that one song on it was crap.
Well, Rick touched on a popular justification for file sharing and the Napster phenomena when he said that bands started putting out albums with one hit and the rest was filler. And the popular justification is, well, I'm just going to steal it off of Napster or Kazaa because bands are putting out shit. There's only one good song and the rest is filler. I don't know that I subscribed or believe that. I think that's true sometimes. I don't know if it's a mass justification.
Not true all the time, but in a lot of cases.
And you can actually compare this phenomena, this subject, to, you guys would probably have had your own same experience with somebody saying, well, when I was a kid, or even maybe more recently, I went into Walmart and I stole this and that, or I just threw something in my pocket. Who cares? They're rich. They don't need it. Isn't that kind of like what people use sometimes to justify taking music? Why not steal from Metallica or the National, who's getting 20 grand to license their song for a car commercial? Why not? They're rich. There's $25 to see them at the at the amphitheater or wherever they're playing. So I think there's a lot of BS justification, and it's unpopular to be on this side of the argument. But it's my burden to stand behind what I really believe. Everyone has that place where their heart and their mind meets. And you're a chump if you stray from that just to be cool and fit in and take the side of the popular,
It's so easy to steal the stuff and to just find the stuff and not have to go and buy it. And unfortunately, as our generations move on, the entitlement moves on, the want for the ease of being able to do that is getting bigger and bigger. So unfortunately, the thinking of going and buying it and purchasing it and not stealing it is going away, and it's, you're definitely, unfortunately, probably fighting a losing battle, as I'm sure because it's sad, but it's what Rick said, the whole music business has to find a new model, a new way to combat that, because it's the ease of it. People want that ease. People want, they want to be able to just go on YouTube and listen to this song right now. And people do that. My good buddy of mine, that's all he does is go on YouTube and type in, put this in and full album, and you have their full album. And when you have that in the palm of your hand at all times, where you could plug it into your car or your home stereo, you're not going to buy it, because that's one more step, and that's $5, $10 out of your pocket that could be spent on something else. So it's the ease of it being there. It's a lot easier for people to do that. People are doing that.
And even in major retail stores, I mean, I've been in Best Buy so many times over the last few years, and if I want to find, you used to be able to really find stuff in
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Now,
Weird
if I want to find
stuff.
Sleep's Holy Mountain, I'm not going to find it there.
You won't find it there. You have to order it.
Even if I want to find The Doors' L.A. Woman, I'll be lucky if they have a greatest hits. That's about it.
That's it. Yeah.
And it requires more effort on the consumer. If you want it, you got to either, go out to a record store. I mean, you could go online, and
Amazon,
I think that's a growing, a growing thing. But
everything I get, I believe, comes from Amazon now. I have piles of just Amazon empty boxes at my house.
But the people that I think go to that,
they're there.
Yeah.
The people that go to that first, are downloading. And me, I used to love walking in the store and seeing it and holding it, and just couldn't wait to get it home and tear that cellophane off and throw it in and immerse myself.
There's definitely a lot of times now I'll even find, like, I'll download something or pre-order it, get it down a download and have it, and still go buy a hard copy of it.
Yeah.
Because I like to have that in my hands.
Right.
Like the last Mastodon CD that came out, you were able to download it like a week before it came out or something. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. And it came out, and I just loved it. And their artwork and all their CDs and their jackets and stuff are just great. So I still went and bought it. So I have a hard copy of it. I don't know if I've even opened it. Yeah, I think I opened it, maybe looked at the artwork. I know the CDs never came out of there because I destroy CDs if they're out. But there's a lot of that a few times now that's happened, and I'm sure it's going to happen more. But, if I could get it, the ease of it, I could get it a little faster. I'm going to get it a little faster. I'm paying for it because I'm in a band. I'd like people to pay for my music.
Yeah. Right. I think it's taken a little while for them to figure out how to come up with like an easy yet legal way to get a hold of music, where people are still making some money off. And it just, I think everyone was completely unprepared. Like the music distribution structure that had been in place, since the 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever, just it couldn't handle the technology. Like it wasn't set up for it. And, it completely blew the lid off of everything. But, I pay, if there's something available on iTunes, I'll buy it on iTunes, but other than that, I pay $10 a month for a Spotify subscription that allows me to listen to anything, anytime, as much as I want. And, you know, I don't feel bad about it because, you know, I am paying for it. And, you know, no one was making any money off of CD sales either, artists wise. You know, record companies made money off of that. But, you know, like, what were you getting, 15 cents off of a CD sale? So, like, how's that different than, you know, really than, you know, getting a couple pennies for some downloads of a song?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to really find out what was the average take for the band versus the record label.
I'm sure it was weighted extremely heavily in the record label.
Pennies on the dollar, I'm sure.
I don't know. We should research that for a future episode. Because I think if that were true, then there wouldn't be such of a backlash against Spotify. I don't think you would see the Taylor Swifts saying, I'm pulling
Taylor
their stuff.
Swift was paid to do that. Like, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
But her record label cares.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. You know,
Definitely
like,
something we'll have to check into.
She's never going to catch her shirt on fire because she was trying to put a bevel on a piece of steel with a 4.5-inch angle grinder. And if
you
she
don't know
has,
that,
well, I actually don't. She
Maybe
is from Pennsylvania,
video.
But you know, like if someone needs her to say, hey, you got to take your stuff off Spotify, like, we're not making that much money off it, and so none of our other stuff that we're putting out, you know, they're still investing a bunch of money in her. She is a product. Record companies sell products. The record industry is an industry. And I think one of the great things about the internet and Napster and being able to steal music was that it gave it back to the artists. You know, it's art. It's not just a product. It's not just something that you have to sell. It's also like a creative outlet for, you know, and some people are really good at it. And some people can't function without it. It's not just like something that you buy.
From Steel Standing Entertainment, returning to Youngstown, Revive Music and Arts Festival, Saturday, July 18th. A full day of music featuring Jones for Revival, Vibe and Direct, Five Elements, Jordan DePaul, Haas and the Juggernauts, Demos, Papademos and his band, Northern Whale, Cardboard Cutouts, 2 days until tomorrow, The River Zone, The Classic Cruisers, and The Flying Trees. Revive Music and Arts Festival, Saturday, July 18th.
Okay, guys, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we saved the best point for last, too.
Yeah,
that was good.
Right. In a future episode, we want to talk about some of the summer festivals, such as the Bonnaroo, the Bunbury, Rust Belt Rock Show, September 12th, the Revive Fest. We'll back up a little bit. I'm out of order. Revive Fest, downtown Youngstown, Ohio, July 18th of this year. We want to encourage folks that are listening to this, if they're not already, to check out the Homegrown Show on C93. Also, the Youngstown Rock and Groove Company. They do a show on Friday night, sometimes at goldenstringradio.org, I believe it is. The Midnight Hour with Brandon Chaos. It's another podcast. You can listen to that on the Speaker app. The Nursery Podcast, which is made up of members from Third Class. And we thank Viking Jim for his inspiration, for sort of setting the bar for promoting and sharing the love with regard to regional rock and roll. Thanks for the production and the opportunity to record here at Mind Rocket Studio. Josh Roman, you rock. Joe and Rick, I look forward to next episode with you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Been a pleasure.
Lucas, thanks for being here. I think we should close the episode out with a Mind Rocket project session from both Baroque and Resonant. What do you guys think?
Sounds great to me.
Sounds good.
Which one do you want to play, Rick?
Go with Empress 3.
Empress 3? Okay. Guys?
I'll leave it to Lucas.
Let's go with Sleepwalker.
Sleepwalker. All right, you've been listening to Speaking of Music. Thanks.